welcome to click2houston.com and Facebook Live. View from the dugout here from the Click to Houston Digital Center. Randy McIlvoy, Larry Dierker with you. 4 hours and 33 minutes. That's what it took to get Game 4. It just ended moments ago at Minute Maid Park. Boston with the win 8-6, but the Astros go down fighting in that ninth inning. They made it interesting. What a catch by Benintendi to end it there.
What a catch by Reddick to keep him in a position to have
Absolutely.
a chance to win. I think Reddick's catch was even more amazing, but to end the game that way, it was a long game, but it had a lot of highlights and a few lowlights. To be honest, the Astros cost themselves some runs with pass balls and with a base running mistake or bad judgment. They probably could have played a cleaner game and maybe still been in the game tied or something, but the Red Sox lineup is just fierce. They don't let you
No weak spots there at all.
They never swing at bad pitches. They hit all the mistakes hard. You know, I wouldn't want to have to face them.
Eighth inning now. You get the iPad for me. I appreciate it, Corey. We're live. It's late tonight. It's 12:20. We're going to take some of your questions here momentarily. Top of the eighth inning, J.D. Martinez had the big base hit. That put Boston up 8-5. And then you were talking about the bottom of the eighth inning. Kemp, great player that he is. Thanks, Corey. Appreciate it. Had the base knock, but tried to stretch it into a double and got thrown out. That was costly.
Yes, it was. And against practically any right fielder except for Mookie Betts, and probably if Josh Reddick had been out there. There's a couple of guys that can throw him out even though he's fast. And Betts was one of them, and his throw was right on the money, and the play was close. But when you're behind and you're the leadoff hitter, you don't take that chance.
Springer had a double. Altuve knocked in a run with the ground ball, made it 8-6, and then you get to the ninth inning. Kimbrel out there. He's the guy. Credit Cora for sticking with him. That pitch count was getting up, and it looked like maybe he was losing a little confidence, but he stuck with him.
I'm not sure Cora was feeling real comfortable with him out there anyway, but sometimes you manage in order to maintain the chemistry of your team, and that might have upset it a little bit if he'd brought in Price, and he probably wasn't going to unless the game got tied and went into extra innings. But I think Kimbrel was running on fumes.
We're getting some folks checking in. We appreciate you doing that here live on abbreviated.
We've got some night owls out there.
We do. We've got people checking in, almost 300 right now. We just went on the air, so keep piling in there and offer your questions as well. I'm going to scroll through, and if you have a question, fire away here, and we'll get it to Larry, and he can answer your question too on your take now. Let's see, okay, there's a question from Mark Anthony Hill talking about Verlander tomorrow. So let's look ahead. Now all of a sudden, Larry, you're down 3-1 in this series. Very few teams come back from 3-1. Must win tomorrow. You've got Verlander going against Chris Sale.
They have to win or the season's over. They got Verlander on the mound and Sale. It's a very dramatic game as it sets up. Sometimes they don't turn out that way. But even Verlander will be challenged against this Red Sox lineup. What I really liked about what he did last year, and of course this is a different year, but when the Astros lost 3 straight in New York, they had an off day coming back to Houston. And Verlander was going to pitch that elimination game against the Yankees at home. On the off day, they had a press conference. They said, you know, you don't really have to come out here. You're pitching tomorrow, but I understand. He'd just been traded. He was getting ready to get married after and he came out to Minute Maid Park, and they interviewed him, and he said, look, this is what they got me for. This is my job, and I'm committed to it until it reaches the end. And I really respected him for doing that, because most guys would have blown that interview off. I might have. But, you know, he
got the job
doesn't back off from anything, and I don't think he's going to back off from the Red Sox either.
Well, the Red Sox, you and I were talking, was it 04 when they were down to the Yankees 3-0? They won 4 in a row and then won the World Series 4-0 as well, got hot. So it can be done. It just hasn't been done a lot right now. We also had a viewer, I want to get your take on that, by the way. And we had a viewer saying, you know, you had Bregman bases loaded at the plate ninth inning. You couldn't have asked for a better situation. And he hit it square.
It was really dramatic. When it first left his bat, I thought it had enough altitude to get out to the wall or even up into the Crawford boxes, but it was lower than I thought it was. And Benintendi, had him played perfectly, I would think more left fielders would play over toward that cutout and maybe a little deeper. But Bregman does pull a lot of balls down the line.
He does. But Benintendi either had to make the catch or that thing was rolling the wall, and all three would have scored. It would have been a walk-off.
It would have been. Yeah. And, you know, if he was playing 2 or 3 feet to the right or back of where he was, he couldn't have gotten there.
Right, absolutely. I mean, he barely made it, but what a catch by Benintendi. Yeah. He was out of some good catches. Reddick had that big one, as you mentioned, in the top of the 9th inning to end it. And it would have saved a couple more runs as well for Boston. So what a game. You and I were saying that this is a great game to watch because it had a little bit of everything.
It really did. You know, what I was particularly impressed by was the hitting. Not to give all the pitchers a free pass, but the Red Sox especially didn't help anybody. They never swung at bad pitches. The Astros pitchers threw some breaking balls that were maybe a little bit low and some fastballs a little bit high, and they wouldn't bite on anything except strikes. And when you threw a strike, if you made a mistake over the middle of the plate, they just hammered it. If you threw it on the corner, they still got a good swing at it. And so I'd like to see their book on how to pitch these guys because I still don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of puzzling out there. And I mean, again, so many weapons in this Boston lineup. It's incredible to watch. Astros don't have their weapons as well. A lot of people are saying the series is over. I want to address that because it's not. You can still come in and get that win tomorrow, regain some confidence, and feel like you've already won at Fenway one time. You'd have to win 2 in a row, but it goes back to what I was just saying. Red Sox did it in 2004. They were down 3-0.
I think if the Astros win tomorrow, they'll think they can sweep in Fenway.
Yeah.
There may be a lot of people who've given up. I certainly think the odds are very heavily stacked against them right now. But I think if you walked into the Astros clubhouse right now, you wouldn't find too many guys who are willing to concede anything.
Well, they got another game tomorrow. They got to be ready to bounce back, and they know the season's on the line. Got to address, if you missed it earlier, the fan interference call in the first inning. People are still going to be talking about that.
Especially since it's a 2-run game.
Yeah, it began the game there in the first inning, but it's of all the great plays in the game, people are going to still be talking about that.
Yes, they are, and really,
it was a home run.
I thought, I thought it was a home run after watching the replay, but I didn't know the extent of the rule. I felt like the umpire could not assume that he would have caught that had he not been interfered with. He might have, but I didn't think you could say, well, if the fan hadn't interfered. But then, in looking at the actual rule, if the fielder has his arm off the field of play, which he did over the fence, then he's at his own risk and there's no fan interference. And I do think that's what happened, and I'm surprised, having looked at the rule, that when they did the replay and the replay judges looked at it, that they didn't give him a home run.
They stuck with what Joe West had called. Here's a question from Marcus Provost. I've never seen the Astros relievers play so sloppy. So you look at the reliever core today. I mean, Josh James had a good outing. I'm not sure what his total line was, but he came in throwing 100. Now, he gave up a couple of hits late in his outing, but he was strong for most of it. Presley came in. McCullers a little shaky tonight.
Yeah, McCullers a little shaky, and Presley was throwing the same pitches he's been throwing when he throws up zeros, and he's done that for a month straight. One thing that you have to remember when you put baseball into perspective, and that is it's a long season, and it's a season that's filled with slumps and streaks. The Astros slumped a little bit in August, not a lot, but a little. But then in September, they only lost 5 or 6 games. They really played strong in September, and they ran away from the A's. You know, the A's got pretty close there for a while, and the Astros just took control. Then they swept Cleveland. Then they won the first game against Boston. And you begin to think, how long can you continue to streak before you hit what's inevitable in baseball is going the other way for a while?
Now 3 in a row, and they lost. You look at their schedule. Our producer, Sal Manin, pointed out August 9th through the 14th, the Astros lost 5 in a row. So uncharacteristic for this team to even drop, let alone that many, but 3 in a row like they've done so far here in the ALCS.
It is. I also think, Randy, that throughout most of the year, the pitching was a little better. The starting pitching was a little better than it's been in this series. I think Charlie Morton was feeling the effects both of not being in action, of being a little rusty, and also of some residual shoulder problems. So for me, he wasn't throwing quite as hard. His fastball wasn't moving quite as much. His breaking ball wasn't quite as sharp, and he made an early exit. James showed you why he's still a promising prospect. He can strike out any major league hitter at any time, but he made a mistake with a changeup to Jackie Bradley Jr. It was up and out over the plate. He'd got him to swing and miss at that pitch 3 or 4 times, but he threw it time after time after time. When you can throw 100 miles an hour, to me, you don't throw an 89 and 90 mile an hour pitch time after time after time. Those are the pitches they're used to seeing with other guys' fastballs. So, you know, he needs a little experience, but he's going to be a good one.
All right, a couple more questions. Bregman in the leadoff spot. That was one of the lineup changes A.J. Hinch made in this one to kind of shake it up. Springer had been in that leadoff spot. Is that something to look at maybe for tomorrow? Leave it alone, moving back to where he was? What do you think?
Yeah, I think probably leave it alone. You know,
he'd been, obviously, they were pitching around him. So, yeah.
There's no way in the world that A.J. Hinch, no matter how good a manager he is, could have envisioned when he put Bregman in the 1 hole that he would come up with the bases loaded in the bottom of the 9th with a 2-run deficit. You know that.
Yeah, tonight he was a couple of ground ball outs. He struck out, was hit by a pitch, and then the line out in the 9th inning. So what he's 0 for 4 tonight. But it's only 1 game, you know.
And the other thing about tomorrow is that the Astros have Verlander, which is a strength. Of course, the Red Sox have Sale.
Yeah. He
is also a strength, but he's had a little bit of arm discomfort this year. And the one thing that may come into play, if it's a close game, is that I don't think Kimbrel can pitch tomorrow.
He went over, I think at one point he was in that 9th inning, I think I saw 30, maybe 35 pitches. So you got to wonder what's left in the tank for him.
Yeah, and he was shaky against the Yankees. He was shaky his first time out against the Astros. Bregman hit that ball that was caught right against the Green Monster. So
they had David Price warming up in the bullpen too.
They did, and that's where I think, you know,
he could be in play for tomorrow.
Putting my manager's cap on, I would say, even though I might have felt better about Price, he wasn't quite as good as he has been during his career in his first start against the Astros, and it would have been Bregman against Price, and still the way Kimbrel was struggling and what Bregman has done against him in the past, I think you would have been tempted to bring Price in there, but then Kimbrel's going, what do you don't think I can get the last out? All I've done is get the last out for about the last 5 years. I've done it all season long. You know, he's going to probably, even though he was tired, even though he was scattering the ball, even though he looked like he was vulnerable, I think that affects him, that the manager took him out of a game. For Price, he's out of his element. You know, he walked 2 guys in the inning that he got pulled from. He couldn't walk anybody in that situation with the bases loaded. Those are the kind of decisions when you're managing that say, this is why they're paying me the good money.
That's right, that's right. Hey, tomorrow you got Game 5. It's a little bit earlier than tonight. Tonight's was 7:39. Tomorrow, I believe, I don't have it in front of me, I believe it's 7:09 tomorrow, in that range, a little earlier. What is as we close it out here, what's the mindset of the players? You've been around players that have lost big games and won a lot of big games too, but when you lose something like this, you're staring at 3-1, how difficult is it for these players to put, you know, it's 12:30 in the morning and they're going to be back at it here tomorrow, to put it behind them and know the season's on the line?
Yeah, but it's such an important game. They're going to be back at it with plenty of adrenaline and plenty of energy. Most of the time, my style was to walk around and say something to individual players to remind them about this or that, and not to have a team meeting.
Right.
If I had a team meeting, which I might under these circumstances, it would just be, hey,
short and sweet.
We gave them a couple of runs last night. We made a few mistakes. To beat this team, let's get out there and play the way we played all year. No mistakes. That's it.
And you can't have the pass balls. We had several of those tonight, that advanced runners from Martin Maldonado. That's got to improve. You got to shore that up. No error. You got to play clean baseball.
The Red Sox give you a little margin.
Erica Young, our producer, checking in, 7:09 tomorrow. So you got to play clean baseball and hope Verlander brings his A game.
Yeah. You do, and I think he can, but he's going to be challenged.
All right, 8-6 is the final tonight in Game 4. Tough loss for the Astros indeed, a long baseball game, again 4 hours and 33 minutes. They've lost 3 in a row now to the Boston Red Sox after winning the opener of the ALCS, dropping Game 2 at Fenway Park and losing the first 2 at Minute Maid Park. Must-win game coming up at 7:09 tonight now. We've entered Thursday. Verlander against Sale. A win will keep this series alive and take it back to Fenway Park for Game 6 on Saturday, Game 7 if necessary on Sunday as well. And that's when you're back with us for Game 7.
That's what I was waiting for, Game 7. I like, the whole
setup,
well,
right?
The Green Monster, the whole thing.
Any advice for Art Howe's going to be in here tomorrow, and you endured a 4.5-hour game. Any advice for him?
Yeah, well, he knows what he's getting into. These games are so much longer these days because I really think because with all the power pitchers, a lot of them don't have good control.
Yeah.
A lot of the other pitchers are afraid to throw strikes because there's so many home run hitters.
Right.
And almost every hitter, it seems like it's 2-2 or 3-2 before the at-bat comes to an end, and a lot of times it ends in a walk.
Right.
So, that tends to drag the game out. But if you can stay with it, you're going to see a lot of athleticism, as we saw tonight, some good hitting, some good pitching. It's still there.
All right, a couple of last comments. Bridget Murray saying, Verlander for the win tomorrow. You've got confidence in Verlander. And apparently on, I guess, MLB Network, Chipper Jones just weighed in on that interference call. He said Altuve, just like you said, was robbed, should have been a home run. So I'm sure a lot of people are in that corner. And Kate Baker saying you can't give up a lot of walks. It's going to cost you. And Salvador Human says the series is going down to the wire. Hashtag never settle. All right, we'll see how it all plays out. Game 5 tomorrow at Minute Maid Park, 7:09. Astros need a win to take it back to Boston. Hey, it's been a pleasure to
all right,
work
Randy.
alongside.
Yeah, it's been great.
The great Larry Dierker, great insight all night long, pregame show, in-game, and here on the postgame. Too bad it was an Astros loss, but let's go get him tomorrow. Art Howe will be here for view from the dugout tomorrow for starting with a pregame show as well. Thanks for tuning in on click2houston.com and Facebook Live. For Larry Dierker, Randy McIlvoy, have a good rest of the night.